Good afternoon. This is Kim Schmidt, Executive Editor of Farm Equipment. Thanks very much for joining us for today's digital demonstration with Tim Aughenbaugh, President of Cropstream. We also have Craig Dick, who is the Vice President of Marketing with Cropstream. An ag engineer by training, Tim co-founded Criterion in 1999 with a core team that's developed practical solutions and services to help a wide variety of companies across the agriculture and food sectors. This experience highlighted a need for better communication between the businesses and producers that work together in agriculture. The company developed the Cropstream messaging system to meet this need and launched it in 2018. Today, Tim's going to discuss the benefits of a messaging system over traditional communication methods. Before we get started with the presentation, I have a couple of housekeeping items. On your screen, there's a control panel with a Q&A icon. You can submit questions here at any time during the presentation, and we'll look to answer as many of your questions as possible following Tim's presentation. And then if for any reason your internet connection or even ours should happen to fail at some point and it looks like we've been interrupted, just go back to the email you received earlier telling you how to join, and you can re-enter that way. Okay, we're ready to get started. Thanks again for joining us, and you can take it away, Tim.
All right. Thank you, Kim. And thanks to everyone who took some time here on this afternoon to learn a little bit more about messaging and how it might help your business. So we'll just dig right in here and show you a little bit about the background maybe of Cropstream and how it came about. Like Kim said, our company's been around for 20 years or so and helping a variety of companies throughout agriculture, from equipment manufacturers and their channel to ag input manufacturers, seed companies, chemical companies, fertilizer companies, as well as food companies. And in the course of that work over those 20 years, about 5 years ago, we began to realize that communication challenges were at the heart of a lot of the problems that we were asked to help with as we were out there doing some field services, helping make sure that the products were being used right out in the field. And so communication between manufacturers and their channel partners down to dealers to make sure things were done right, or so business was working good, was pretty tricky because everybody's out in the field, everybody's remote and running around. So we began to think at that time about messaging as a potential solution here, and we ended up spending a couple years trying different methods, talking to different companies, throwing out ideas, getting some ideas back from them for what they'd like to see, and we ended up building this messaging service called Cropstream. We've learned quite a bit along the way and that sort of thing, but some of that we'll share with you here as we go along. About a year ago, as Kim mentioned, we launched this in 2018. And we took it out first to the ag input industry. And we went to seed manufacturers, ag retailers, people like that, and got a pretty good reception from it. Learned a lot in that period of time as well. Crop Life magazine, which is the leading publication over in that part of the ag business sector, they put it on their list of best new ag apps for 2019. But as we were talking to users and started to get more and more users on our system, they began to ask to do messaging about equipment. And so what we did in turn then was we reached out to Farm Equipment magazine and talked to Mike Lessiter and showed him what we were working with, and he thought it was quite interesting and said that he'd heard a lot of questions about these same types of issues with equipment dealers and with equipment manufacturers. And so he asked us if we'd be interested in the opportunity to present some of what we've learned and some of what we think might be applicable to the equipment space to you guys. And so that's what we're here to do today. So we'll talk for a real quick moment here about what we're going to cover in this webinar. First of all, we'll start out kind of at a high level, why you might need a messaging strategy to grow your business. We'll talk about why producers tend to prefer messaging over some other types of communication. Then we'll go on to talk about how to use messaging to increase engagement with your audience and eventually to grow sales. We'll also share with you a secret that we believe we've uncovered here as we've watched patterns in other people using Cropstream that makes some messages very, very much more powerful and addresses some of the challenges that companies have today. We'll then move into some pricing and talk about how this can surprisingly cost quite a bit less than many of the other things that you might be doing to communicate, and get you in front of customers more often at the same time. And last here, we'll share with you a risk-free way to get started with messaging and a special offer that we have here for you guys in this market. All right, well, jumping right in then. We're going to spend a moment talking about this guy. This is your customer in the hubbub of every day. It's often hard to keep him front of mind when you've got fires to put out and things happening. But this is the guy that really drives the business at the end of the day. He's the reason you are in business, to help him, and he's the one that brings in the cash that helps run the business, of course. So in the equipment industry, every year, this guy spends thousands of dollars on parts and service. And when he's ready to buy equipment, either new or used, he's spending tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars with your dealership. So the question that we've talked about with other people in the ag retail side of the business as well, and one that we think is applicable here, is do we as dealerships and as manufacturers communicate with this guy enough? Are we speaking to him enough? And what does that mean to our business? One of the questions that keeps a lot of people up at night, especially in this economy and everything else, is what happens if you risk losing the business of someone like this? And that's not a pleasant thing to think about at all. But when it comes down to it, communicating and a lot of keeping business and retention is really around relationship and staying in front of people. People do take their business elsewhere because of price and some other things, but oftentimes it really comes down in a relationship-oriented business like agriculture to communicating. And the more positive way to spin all that is if you could communicate more regularly and pay more attention to people, could you grow your business with them? It's kind of a core truth in agriculture as it is elsewhere, that when your existing customer base typically drives 80% of your business. And while we focus on bringing new customers in, which a tool like messaging can actually help with as well, it's really this core customer and growing that core customer where a lot of the opportunities are. But all of that is a lot easier said than done. Right? I mean, we often don't just have the tools to do it with. We can send postcards, we can put advertisements in the local paper, we can try to call people, but they're busy and don't want to call back and that sort of thing. So our options are a little bit limited in terms of what we've been able to do until now. And now we think with messaging that you can actually get this accomplished very, very cost effectively for somewhere between $1 and $5 a customer per month. And do it in a way, as we'll talk about here, that's a lot more engaging and interesting and easier for both parties to conduct. So we'll go over some pricing. That's a pretty wide range there, and we'll talk about this special risk-free offer here towards the end of the presentation. But for now, let's just move into talking a little bit about messaging itself and how it's different. Communication changes over time. So 30 years ago, we used the telephone most of the time to communicate with people in ag. 20 years ago, email became a little more prevalent, but you typically had to do it with a computer and sit down in the evening or earlier in the morning to get that done. 15 years ago, cell phones became much more prevalent. The coverage got a lot better. Everybody was walking around with flip phones and talking to people while they were in a tractor or while they were driving down the road, that type of thing. And 10 years ago, Facebook and Twitter and some of the other social media platforms came out. And every time along this chain, we've kind of adapted and started to use different tools. Well, now that shift has moved to messaging. You're even seeing companies like Facebook switching their efforts over to messaging for a variety of reasons. And we'll talk about those now and look at some of the comparisons. What it really comes down to is messaging is a better way to communicate in a lot of instances. So you take a messaging tool like Cropstream, and as we'll talk here, you'll see that it's a little bit more engaging than texting is. Gets more opened, gets more attention than email does, and it's more private than social media and that sort of thing. We'll dig into each one of these one at a time here to talk about them a little more. So first off, when we compare something like Cropstream with texting, Texting really is messaging, and it's one of the most preferred ways that people communicate, but it is lacking. This is an example here on the left of trying to send, for instance, a product PDF or something to someone in a text message. And we can see that doesn't come through very well. Over here on this side of things, we can see that there's a product card here, and this little bit of content, as we'll see in Cropstream, can get tapped on, and it can have videos, dynamic links to other content, that type of thing. And all of the conversations that you have related to that piece of content are organized. So unlike a text message where you might have to thumb back through months of conversations with somebody to find what you're looking for, here it's organized by the content and it stays right there for you. Another type of texting that's out there is bulk texting. And a lot of businesses use this, but there's quite a bit of difference here as well. Cropstream lets you send bulk messages like this to large targeted groups of people, but it does so in a way that's much more personal. It has much more engaging content than what is here. It has more visual appeal, and it actually enables you to have private chat and to be interactive on it with someone when they respond to you. So a little bit different in those services that are out there. Next thing we'll compare messaging to is email. We're all familiar with this on our phones, the little blue dots that are beside every message that signify that you haven't read it yet. And the reason that we don't read these are many, but they tend to pile up. There tends to be a lot of junk in here. There tends to be things that are not related to my business necessarily. And so if we look over here on this screenshot of a home page, we can see something that may be familiar to you, numbers in the hundreds and even the thousands of unread emails. But what you don't see on a messaging solution like a Cropstream shown here, you rarely see more than a single-digit number of unread messages, and often it's all the way cleared out. And that's because messages are just much more engaging to us. I know as I look at this myself, when I sit back and think about it, if I'm going to create an email, I don't really regard that as something that's enjoyable. Or going through my emails, I don't think of that as enjoyable. But messaging, text messaging, for example, in comparison, I actually like to send those out. I enjoy to send somebody a quick message, or when someone sends me one back and I see that I've got 2 messages there, I'm pretty eager to click on that and see who's there. And that's just because the messages are shorter, they're quicker, they tend to be more pertinent to what I'm wanting to do. What we've seen with Cropstream here is actually that people have been opening messages with 80% open rates, compared to email that's down in the mid single digits at best, 3, 4, 5% a lot of times. But we've seen people send these out. 80% of the recipients will open them in about 2 minutes, and 95% of them in the next day, or within a few hours, certainly over the next day. All right, so we'll get into some of this as well a little bit deeper later on. Now let's move over to social media and what the difference is there. So on the left, we've got a Facebook page. And one of the big differences between a Cropstream and a social media platform is that Cropstream's focused on agriculture 100%, and in particular, ag business. So I tend to look at that as a grower or as a business dealer or equipment manufacturer here when I'm interested in my ag business. On the left, you run into things like this: teen brains found in elderly dancers. May be of interest to you, maybe not. But even when ag associations or ag businesses work on social media, and it's a good thing. It has its place and purpose. You tend to see messages a little bit more like this that aren't as targeted to the audience. They're more general things that are meant for a general audience. And that's just because the audience there is more general and it's more targeted over here. So in this message, you can see that companies can send out very specific things. You can see private chats are coming in. That's a little bit different. If I click through this again to show another example, you can see this one here that was just sent on May 31st by a soybean processor, letting everybody that follows their business know that the highway's closed come on June 3rd, so they can take appropriate action and reroute themselves. Probably something you wouldn't see on social media. and all the way to things like this that are very private. There's a company called CropSafe on Cropstream, and they send out daily messages about armyworm infestations, other insect infestations to their subscribers. And those targeted messages go only to the people that subscribe to their service. But now they get that little ping on their phone, they can tap on this message, and they can see that other data. So the thing we found actually versus social media is we took a quick survey of the users in Cropstream, and only 3% of them are actually on Twitter. And so we know numbers that are out there are reported a lot higher than that for adoption of social media, but we see a lot of engagement on Cropstream here with the types of users that have started to use it now. One last point on social media, if you're involved in that at all from your business and marketing, you know that over time, it's become harder and harder to get your message in front of customers. You don't always get your message to appear due to Facebook's algorithm and other things. You have to pay often to boost that. With Cropstream, it's a message delivery service. It's not social media, and so we guarantee that every message will get delivered, and they all come in a chronological feed. So you can really target people and start to talk to your audience better. The other problem with social media in agriculture is this one right here that we point out. Companies in agriculture, sometimes local businesses, more often manufacturers, since you can public comment on here, you get all sorts of negative stuff on that they have to worry about with trolls and that sort of thing. Cropstream, again, no problem with that because it's all contained within agriculture, and we don't even allow public commenting. You can send private messages, but you can't even do something like this. And it also allows you to control as a manufacturer your content a lot more by making sure your content is on Cropstream. You've got the latest and greatest there for everybody and don't have to worry about materials that might not be up to date. All right, so all of that kind of to make a quick comparison of messaging to those other types of communication. And it's not that any of those are bad. It's just that they have their strengths and weaknesses, just like messaging does. And there's a reason that messaging is coming to the fore as the convenient way that people like to get information. And as it relates back to your customer here, why does he like this? Why do growers like it? Well, it's for a lot of the reasons that they like texting. They're busy. You can send a text message to them. You don't have to worry about bothering them. They can respond at their earliest convenience. It's often easier to do that back and forth. So it's very convenient to use at really all hours of the day. The other thing that they like about Cropstream that we've heard is they like to have this information at their fingertips. They like to be able to tap on. They're very interested in getting information and having it there. They tend to be more remote, so they often wonder if they're missing out on something, or they want the latest thing, don't want to Google search it. Well, there's the opportunity to get this information to them and build the relationship at the same time. The last thing is it lets them keep up to speed and stay in the know on special deals that are out there, on new products, on things they should look out for, and all that. So all of that, if information's coming to them in a convenient way for them to look at, they tend to like it. And the nice thing with the Cropstream is it's not downloading an app from one of 27 different companies and trying to organize it. It all comes into one spot. All right, well, let's move into the ways that you can use messaging. 4 main categories that we've found so far. From a sales and marketing side, deals and promotions is one way that people are using it. You can also send notifications and reminders, simple things like reminders that a meeting is coming up. And while postcards and announcements in a newspaper do work for that, and we wouldn't necessarily recommend that people don't do that, you can supplement them with these messages and remind people, and we've seen increases in attendance just because people forget. They're busy and they're out moving around, but they don't really mind getting a message pinged on their phone to remind them of it. You can get product information and updates on things to people, as well as advice and support. And doesn't matter if they have Apple phone, Android, or if they're using it at their computer. And so we've been asking in the past about this, who in my business can use this? And it's really a variety of people that can. Some companies choose to focus just in one area of their business and start there. Others take a little more broad approach. So in deals and promotions, sales staff, certainly, it's one of the handiest things for individual salespeople. Since this thing works on their phone, they don't have to be logged into some system. They can just text like normal. It's almost easier for them to do their business this way. And marketing people as well. If you do have marketing staff, this can be just another tool that they use to generate content that can be sent out to customers. When you move into notifications and reminders, here's where we get into a little more operations or service. This can be a way to let people know you're coming for a service call, or for people to notify you that they have a problem with something, or just operationally as you're making rounds out in the countryside. You can let people know about things as well. When we move to information and updates, there we bring the marketing people back in, because they can often send out updates and that sort of thing as well. And lastly, on advice and support, sales and service both can use this. So you can really start wherever you want. You could start in the sales side. You can start with operations. We've even had a couple companies that started just to use this for internal communication. They have enough employees that they're trying to organize at the beginning of the day what they're trying to do, or they're sending out a safety message to everyone. And Cropstream, the same system, can be used and targeted for private conversation to your staff just as well, which can often save people some money. The product itself is used by both manufacturers and dealers. So the site here, we'll get into it a little bit more. You can have a manufacturer's site that has information about their equipment, and really anybody could come and look at this. But you can also then have a dealer page, and dealers can take some of the content from a equipment dealer, and they can place it on their page. Usually a customer won't want to dig through everything that might be on a manufacturer's site, and they want to talk with their local dealer anyway. So going to the local dealer site is often the place that they'll start. And here you can mix and match content from various equipment providers, short line equipment that you have, other things, and you can create your own cards as a dealer as well with little content. We'll get into card content in a bit here, but this usually doesn't take a lot of extra work. It's usually things you might already have access to, PDF manuals and things like that you just make accessible on this site. So this makes it pretty easy to facilitate product communication and other things back and forth. The whole point of all of it is to drive some more connections and conversations, and then eventually more sales. So you can take a piece of content like this here. Let me go jump back to that. You can take an offer like this. Maybe there's a special sale that's going on, send it out from the company, but then you can dive in with an individual conversation, letting somebody know that they've got a bunch of acres to cover, and if they need anything, you can just drop the knives out for them in this case. So quick and easy engagement that way, all to drive sales or build relationship. All right, well, how does it work? There's four main features of Cropstream, and they're able to be used by anybody. First of all, on the left, you can see how you can connect. So there's a variety of things you can connect to. You can connect to individuals, individual growers, individual people at different companies, that type of thing. Here we're highlighting the local businesses tab. So when the grower signs up, they see a list of local businesses that are closest to them, and they can tap on that business. What we've seen with this product so far is that when growers come on, maybe they were invited by an ag retailer in a certain area. When they come on, they'll tend to pick and select the other local businesses that they work with. So in many cases, you can start to have a built-in audience coming to connect to you on Cropstream. Once you're connected then, and you've tapped this button as a grower, or you can follow people yourself, you start to get messages from those people. So here we've got a lunch meeting about learning how to use the climate technology product and where it is, time and place, that type of thing. But you'll get these messages just from the businesses that you connect to. Once somebody sends you some content like this, you can save it to your own personal favorites. So here on this screen, this person has saved from a soybean processor. They've got a webcam hooked up, so at any time someone can see how long the line is. Here's a product by a fertilizer company, one by a seed company. This is from a seed dealer. He's made his own little video on the equipment that he's using to show how he's delivering seed quality and that sort of thing. That video is saved there for reference. Same way when people have equipment, maybe for sale or things they're interested in, they could also favorite those. And anytime they want to, then they can tap on that card and they can start to have a messaging conversation back and forth with someone. So if it's related to a notification or an announcement of an event, they might ask for when they need to be there, or if they need to bring anything along. Or if it's a product, it might be a product question, or maybe it's pricing related. But at this point, it's all private and one-on-one in terms of communication. So those are the features that anybody can have with Cropstream. And now advantages as you move to a business plan, which is paid. As you move to this type of a plan, you get to have branded content. So you can put up your own banner here with your own image for your business. You control your own avatar, and you can begin to put custom content on here. And again, this could be content at a manufacturer level, or we've seen lots of dealers start to create their own content about products and their own twist on things and put them here. Then the other advantage of a paid plan is you can organize all of your contacts into groups. So in a way, it's like a mini CRM system that people actually can use. You can organize them into different groups of people, and you can send messages with this content to these controlled group of people. So those are the big two advantages that you get with a paid plan. Now, how does that work? You can send the messages, like I said, from the phone, but you can also send them right from your computer. So if you happen to be out in the field and want to send a quick message, you certainly can from your phone. But a lot of people do this part of their work in the day, maybe late in the afternoon or early in the morning. They'll get in and they'll select who they're going to send the message from. It can be from the company or from themselves personally. They pick the group that they want to send it to. Maybe it's customers that have bought in a certain piece of tillage equipment, or maybe they buy hay equipment. Maybe it's another type of customer that's my best customers, or maybe it's my customers in this certain area. You can segregate them and target these messages to who you want. You then type in your message, and you can add a graphic. Cropstream has a neat little tool that lets anybody with no graphical talent whatsoever create their own custom messages like this with templates, and just change the date on something or change the time. All right, so you can do that from either place here, and you go ahead and send your messages. Then on the receiving end, as we'll see in a little demo here, the customer receives that message on their phone with a notification. And that's really the big thing that drives attention and interest here. So there's two options in Cropstream. You can send, so you just receive a notification like this that's silent. So whenever someone opens their phone, they're going to see this. Or you can optionally choose to ping their phone and make that an audible beep. And we tell people to use that sparingly because you don't want to abuse the privilege of doing so. But as long as you're doing that in a way when it makes sense, you can really drive engagement and really get the word out in front of people. Once someone taps on one of these notifications, they're taken right into that content that was sent, and then they're able to have a private discussion with somebody, save this message or whatever. All right, so that's receiving messages. Now, I promised at the beginning that we would share with you a secret that believe we've uncovered about some of the most successful messages that we've seen sent, and we actually think that this helps solve one of the problems we've heard about as we've talked to both manufacturers and dealers out there. So that it's really a simple little formula. First of all, when you're sending a message, if you can, they don't all have to be this way, but try to send useful information. People generally don't like to be sold to, but they value useful information tremendously. So in this case, a dealer can create a little informational thing about a product, or the manufacturer themselves can create this type of content in a simple little card. And maybe this already exists on a website. Maybe it's a manufacturer website, but it's a video that's just not getting used or shared. Well, you can tap it into a little card like this, and it's meant to provide useful information. In this case, about how to use this, how to set up this rate controller. So it starts with that useful information, and then one of the key elements is it adds a personal message to someone's personal contacts. So the message here may have come from, originated with a manufacturer or from us as the dealer, but the message itself can get sent from an individual salesperson or an individual service person. And they can tack on their own little point of view on it, using their own language, targeting just their certain customers. We've got people that are using this that send to, one salesperson will send to 4 different customer groups, just because he likes to send the message to them differently. But this is really the key that elevates the message. It often highlights the key thing, that because this guy knows his customers best, and it leverages the relationship that the salesperson has as well. The other thing the card does is brings him up to speed. So now he doesn't have to worry about providing every little bit of information or knowing everything. The card helps him be confident in what he's saying, and then he's in turn confident as he passes it along to a grower, and everybody wins in that situation. The last key element here is that you need to have an easy tool that people like to use, or they won't use it. We've all seen CRM systems that people don't work with and use. That's tough for them to do. Well, there isn't a salesperson out there that doesn't want to sell more. And so giving them an easy tool that lets them easily share information that's valuable along with their own personal comments, this is actually one of the easiest ways they can get that done. And so we tend to see that they do. It's a tool that they want to use. It also brings in that little bit of enjoyment that I referenced earlier about sending messages. There's something about seeing them and sending them that people naturally like to do. So put all that together, and that we think that's the little secret that for the reason we've been seeing some really good engagement and results from this product. All right, with that, we're going to jump over to a quick demo here, and we'll spend 5 minutes or so just kind of looking around the product. And as we're doing that, if you think of questions and you want to post them in the thing, we'll try to come back and answer as many of those as we can. Or of course, we're happy to do a private demo for you if you'd like that as well. So now we'll jump over here to this that I jumped to earlier a couple times. And what I'm going to do is fire up my phone, and I'm going to show you my screen on my phone as well, so you can see both at the same time. Okay. So here I am on my phone, and you can see I'm on that Connections tab down here at the bottom. And I'm on the Manufacturers tab here. So just to show you the difference between what the phone looks like and what it looks like in a browser, I'm going to go ahead and pick on Amity Technology here that's shown on my list. And I'm going to go over to Amity's page. And we can see here that I've got the same thing going on, just in a mobile format. So here was my message from Craig about this particular card, and here it is in this phone. If I look at these featured cards here, featured information that Amity is showing, all I have to do on my phone is slide over to the Featured tab, and there's that same content. I can tap on one of these cards at any point in time. So I'll tap on this video card here. And you can see how the even video content is brought right into the mobile environment. And I can see conversations underneath this that I have had, in this case with Craig. So I can jump over to that conversation with Craig, and you can see that he told me to take a look at this, said take a look at this, and he responded, thanks, I'll take a look. If I go over here on this particular card on the web, you can see on my computer, I can pull up the very same thing, and here's that conversation with Craig. And so we could go back and forth on this again. So I can ask him for example. I can say, what did you think? And the second that I sent that from my phone, you can see me tapping it there. You also saw that instantaneously it pinged over here and was showing on my computer as well. Now Craig's phone pings on that end, and he can answer me back and let me know whatever he wants to know about that. We can see down here now that Craig is typing. We can see that Craig's typing over here. And as soon as he responds, it'll pop back up. So beets are amazing. Do they grow in southern Nebraska? All right. So that's kind of how messaging works. I'll go through this a little bit more here, just to show you some different types of companies. This is an example of an equipment manufacturer's page. Obviously, I can go over here and I can show another example. Here's another manufacturer with different types of content that they might want to share. Can do a variety of things here, instructions of how to use things. Here's an example of a installation instructions for a row cleaner. If I go ahead and click this on the web, you'll see that pulls in, and I've got the instructions here on that. If I'm to do the same thing over on my phone, so there's Martin Industries. And if I click on that row cleaner card, that very same card, I can do the same thing. I can click on that instructions link, and we'll see on the phone how the very same information is there for me to go grab. And I can zoom into it and take a look at what I want. So a very nice and easy way also with Cropstream now to share that. Here, for example, is a message I got from Craig on this. And so that content could have been sitting there. The salesperson or the service person can easily send it out. Questions can go back and forth. And later on, instead of having to dig through my whole stream of chats on my text messages to come up with that, all I have to do is maybe favorite this card. So I'll touch it here, and I'll see on the bottom where it says Save Favorite. I can now favorite that card, and maybe I'll put it under Support. So now I've got it as a favorite on my system, and on my phone on the lower right, I can go to Favorite Cards, and I can go down to Support, and now we see that row cleaner card is right there. So now I've got that information. If I want to pull it up, there's my conversation with Craig as well as the PDF. So pretty simple and straightforward to use in that way. So we'll go back over here to the web, show you one more thing. We've looked at some of this from the perspective of a manufacturer and getting cards from them, but you don't have to have all the manufacturers you work with on here at all. In fact, you can use it totally yourself. So let's go to Z's Equipment Sales here, which is a demo account that we have set up. And you can see here that you can bring in cards from other manufacturers, but you can create your own content as well and start to manage that. Here's cards from multiple manufacturers, or you can start to bring in your own special content and do things. One last thing that I'll show you here. When you want to send a message to someone, that little message designer we talked about, here we are. We're in to send a message, and we might want to type a message. This is our message. And optionally then we can go ahead and we can add a graphic to that. Well, there's a bunch of templates that exist in here that are easy for people to go ahead and switch. So maybe this is our Combine Clinic card from last year, and this year the clinic is going to be on the 22nd. Something like that. And now I can go ahead and I've easily added this because I can save my images over here for my company, pull them in and use them. I'll go ahead and use this. And now here's our message for the Combine Clinic, and I can say, let me know if you can attend. And you can send this message out, and then the people that get the message in that group can reply and let you know if they're going to attend or not. And you can feel free to send 2 or 3 reminders about this. Usually, like I said, people don't mind. All right, so that's a quick demo. If there's other questions and we have time at the end, we're happy to go through this for how you can manage groups and contacts and things like that. But that gives you maybe a high-level look at how it's used. So we'll move now to kind of just recapping some of the benefits and that we've seen here. The main benefit is more engagement with messaging than you'd likely see with others. Most of those other means of communication, email, local advertising, perhaps postcards. There's not a lot of back and forth dynamic, and here there can be quite a bit. That leads typically to higher conversions, more result-oriented type things, and as we'll see here, lower spend than you typically would spend with those types of products. So benefits for dealers, kind of at a high level. Spending less in this environment can be a good thing. We don't recommend not doing the things that you're doing today, but this is a tool or a choice that could help you spend less and communicate a lot more, because the way the plans are orchestrated in Cropstream is you can send as many messages as you want. You don't send per message or per user or anything like that. It's pretty quick and easy to use. People can have it in their pocket. You can let as many of your users use it as you want. Your sales team use it, marketing people, support operations, like we said. And the ultimate goal at the end of the day, not only having better relationships with people, which has some benefit in and of itself, but selling more as a consequence of it is a outcome as well. On the manufacturer side, this also can help, and this is both dealers and manufacturers. Like we said before, there's no salesperson out there that doesn't want to sell more. It's often that they just don't have the right tool that makes that easy enough to do at the time. And so with Cropstream, manufacturers can use this tool to make, maybe instead of printed brochures that sit around a little bit or maybe get lost, this can let them create content and send it right to a dealer. And it's so easy then for a salesperson to pick and choose what he wants, either when someone asks a question or just to send it out to his entire audience and let them know about some new feature or some new program or some new benefit. The other thing manufacturers can benefit with this is that content can be managed. So you don't need to have old content out there. You can update this content, and everywhere that it's been sent or messaged or saved as a favorite, it will automatically update on everyone's phone. So in the end, this really becomes a better way to support channel partners and to work with channel partners together to reach the grower, and in the end of the day, sell more. So that kind of brings us to the end here, and what we hope we've done here is provide you kind of an overview on messaging and how it's a little different and how it can help drive business when it's used this way, and why you might consider it as a useful tool that you'd want to add to your toolbox of other communication tools that you might have. So to help with that, what we've done is come up with a risk-free offer. One thing we've heard from people as we talk to them, they really are intrigued with it and interested in it, but they would like a way to try it. And so what we've come up with is this risk-free plan that will actually let you start to use the product, put your brand out there, get some information on it, start to invite your customers and communicate with them. And you'll pay nothing with this program until 20 users are connected and receiving messages from your business. At that point then, we have flat pricing, special introductory pricing that we're going with here that lets you use it at your dealership or your business for $100 per month location. So for about the price of what you may pay for a local ad or some other service, you can use it for all types of communication, send as many messages as you want to anybody that you do business with. And on the manufacturer side, I know that there's a few manufacturers on this webinar as well. For you, we also have a risk-free offer. It's just a little bit different than this. So invite you to contact us, but again, a way for you to get your content on there as well and begin supporting dealers and helping communicate with them. For those people that come on, we have some things in place here that we've learned over the last year or so to help support you as well. We have a Kickstart program. So we'll actually, if you sign on and want to go forward with a paying plan, we'll help you set everything up, get going and import your lists, get out to your customers. We've got some print-ready handouts that we can create for you that make it easy to let your customers know about Cropstream and how they can connect with you. We've got some social media templates for you, and we also, for those people that want it, Some people have said, we just like you to jump on and help us once a month. Just give us a quick call so we can talk about what we want to accomplish in the next month and maybe get some ideas from you, get some game plan together. And so we offer that as well. We usually offer it as part of the Kickstart program when people start, just to get them going. But if you'd like to continue with that, it's something that we offer here as well. So with that, we're about 45 minutes into the webinar here. There's a couple ways you can contact us if you have any questions about any of this. Certainly you can go to our website, or you can download the app from either of the stores. But also would invite you, just go ahead and reach out, write down either Craig's email or my email here, and just reach out to us with any question if you're interested and would like to get started with one of these offers. So with that, I guess I'll turn it back over to Kim and Craig and see if there's any questions that you guys are getting that we want to address here.
Yeah, we do. We have had some questions come in. I guess first off, how do you get your customers onto Cropstream? Okay.
I'll jump back into the demo here just to show you a little bit of what that looks like, and I'll jump over here to this business where we have some sample data in. That's a common question. This is kind of like a little mini CRM in a way, as I mentioned. So when you're on your own page here, if you have permissions as a manager on your page, you'll see this contacts page, and you can go ahead and click on that. And what that tells you, first of all, is in these groups is connections, the number of people that are connected to you. So this is just a sample thing here, and so I can see all the people that are connected with me, and we see people with various numbers depending on the size of their business. You know, from 30, 40, 50 really close customers that are connected to them, to retail businesses and that sort of thing that might have several hundred, manufacturers that have hundreds of people connected to them. So you can see those people here, and you can actually contact them and that sort of thing. I can look down here, though, to imported customers. We let you send a list in of customers if you have one, and you can include either your mobile phone number or the email. You don't have to include both. But once they're imported, you'll see that lots of times a phone number you thought was a mobile is not. Our system actually does a check for you, and if you see the little mobile phone icon here, that means that we've confirmed that's a mobile number, and here it is not. So what I can do, you'll also see in this example, like Chris, we've imported him, but he's already on Cropstream and joined, so there's no need to invite him. You'll know that as well. But let's say that I wanted to invite however many people that I wanted here. I can do that, or I can select all of them. And then when I click this invite button, what we give you is a way to send a customized message to them. And if they have an imported cell number, or they have an email, it'll send the appropriate message out to them. So we're just going to leave this here. You could customize it, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click preview, because we learned that people are wanting to see, well, what does that message look like exactly that I'm going to send out to someone? So what we do, if you click that preview, is we send that message to you, to your own email. And I'll just pull the one up here that I just sent. So Tim from Z's Farm Supply to me in this case, but I'd like to invite you to use Cropstream. And from here, it'll take me to the web, or if I click on it and I'm on my phone, it's smart enough to know I'm on my phone. It'll take me right to the web store, and I'll go ahead and download and connect. So we make it pretty easy for you to go ahead and invite people using that format. We find people have the most success when they do this every 3 weeks or so, come up with a program, and their list just kind of grows. And then also use some of those other tools that I talked about as well, that we provide. Things like this card, for instance, a little handout that you can give one-to-one to people, or you can just have them sitting on your counter. We've also had people send these out with their bills. So they include these in an invoice just to let people know they're on Cropstream. And it's really a benefit to all parties to get together so that updates can be exchanged and that type of thing.
Okay,
hopefully
and then how
that covered it.
Oh, sorry.
And that's fine. Hopefully that covered that question.
I think so. And then how many active monthly users are there on Cropstream?
We don't publish the number of users entirely, but I did show that slide earlier on here that showed the number of users and kind of where they're located. So this is what we share about that. And you can tell there's a more dense area here right in eastern South Dakota, but it largely today, this is growing every day. There's users and users jumping on at this point. So it kind of covers the Midwest corn and soybean area pretty well right now, but it's also expanding into these other areas also.
Okay, and then is it free for dealers? And if they invite someone, will there be a charge for the customer to join?
It is free for dealers to use in two different ways. And there is no charge. So let's say a dealer comes on and they invite their customer base, their growers. There's no charge for the growers at all to use the system. Now, if this risk-free offer that we have right here, what we're actually going to be doing is letting you have all the paid features of Cropstream. That if you end up getting more than 20 users and decide to keep using it, will end up costing you this flat fee. But in the beginning, when you start here as part of this offer, absolutely no cost, and we'll give you all the full features to get started and get going.
And if you'd like to do that, just go ahead and download the app, add your business, and message me on Cropstream. Craig Dick, you can find me on the Cropstream page. And tell us you'd like to do the risk-free offer, and we'll get that turned on for you.
Yeah. And if it's easier or more convenient for you, you just want to take that step now, you can also just email Craig or I using these email addresses if you have interest.
Okay, and then during the presentation, we got a couple questions about how Cropstream compares to something like Slack or other programs like that.
Slack is a interesting comparison. Slack is a little bit different in a couple ways, though. First off, Slack is not focused on agriculture, obviously. It tends to be technology focused, and the first adopters for it tend to be more tech businesses and the like. It also is not a network like Cropstream is. That's really meant for inter-company communication back and forth. And what we tried to do with Cropstream was help mimic the way that people actually do business today. So the same grower will work with an equipment dealer. He'll buy his seed from one person. He might get his fertilizer and crop protection done at another. He might have an advisor that helps him with his grain marketing, do something else. So Cropstream's unique in that it brings all those together. It's also unique in this custom content and letting you save that and persist that, like we showed with the products and that type of thing. But it's Slack is in a general category of a communication tool that does messaging just in a slightly different way with channels and that type of thing.
Okay, and then is there any integration with HubSpot?
We don't have integrations like that at the moment, but we are working on an integration so you'll be able to, when you create a Cropstream message, you'll be able to send it to Facebook or send it to Twitter if you want to, if it's that type of message, so you could send them to both. But we anticipate that people will send a pretty small portion of their messages from Cropstream to those social media services. And maybe the majority of it will tend to be a little bit more Cropstream specific. That said, we're open to any sort of integration that people have an interest in, and we take feedback like that all the time. That's the reason the Facebook and Twitter integration is on the roadmap.
With that risk-free trial until they get 20 customers, is there a limit on that for when they need to do it by, or is that ongoing?
We haven't set a limit on it, but it is an offer that they're putting out there right now, going into the machinery segment. So we don't know how long we're going to keep it up there. We haven't set a deadline on it though as well. We just encourage people, if they're interested, to take advantage of it now. We're just kind of doing it as a way for companies to try it with risk-free, like it says, but also to learn and engage back and forth to see what, if any, additional features they might want.
Okay. We have time for a couple more questions if anyone else had anything they wanted to ask Tim and Craig. Okay, well, if there are not any more questions, we will wrap things up. Today's presentation and audio will be available on the Farm Equipment website in the event you'd like to go back and review it. Also, watch your email and the eWatch newsletter for more information. On behalf of Tim and Craig and everyone at Cropstream, thank you for joining us for today's digital demonstration. When you leave, you'll be directed to a short survey. Please let us know what you thought of the live event. Thanks again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.